And Tracy, would you begin our vigil for us?
I'm happy to. Welcome, everybody. As we gather this evening, we recognize and honor that we are gathering on the occupied ancestral homelands of the Spokane tribe, the Coeur d'Alene, the Nimiipuu people, the Kalispels for me, and many others. We gather in the places we live today. Wherever we are on sacred ground. A vigil is a time of being alert to what is happening around us while others sleep. Tonight's vigil happens at a time in our world where great pain is being experienced through the coronavirus pandemic, the exposure of the undeniable systemic racism in our country. And in this month of December, we are aware of how our many faith and non-faith practices offer words of encouragement through the long, cold nights. Our goal as faith leaders and leaders of conscience is to speak in one moral voice in order to overcome racism, poverty, militarization, and ecological devastation. We confront our national and local history without shaming or blaming. We seek to speak the truth and to choose to make a better future. Tonight we pause to lament and to hope. We are not alone. We keep doing good, keep caring for others as you would want to be cared for yourself.
Thank you. Lonnie, would you bring us some words, and we'll hope that Chonyi may still get to be able to be with us.
Yes, my words are a lament, and this is from I don't know what you want to call it, a piece of music that Schubert wrote, and it was a remembrance of and a grief and a lament for Bach. And its German name, I know I'm not pronouncing it right, is Thubten strong, which means on the river. And I really condensed the words to the music. The music is lovely, and we're missing something that I don't have it, but these are the condensed words. Take these last farewell kisses and the wafted greetings that I send to the shore before your foot turns to leave. Already the boat is pulling away by the waves' rapid current, and so the waves bear me away with reckless speed. See how the shore flies past. The river's waves rush onward without respite, bearing me on toward the ocean. How I tremble in dread in that dark wilderness. No song can reach me from the shore. If my wistful roaming eyes can no longer descry the shore, I shall look up to the stars there in the sacred distance. And that's a synopsis of what he wrote in his Lament for Bach.
Oh, thank you. Marvin, would you come up and read from Amos, from the Judeo-Christian tradition? And you can read that little part that's in front of it that talks about hear the prophet. Yeah.
Here the prophet Amos speaks to the unjust people of his time. May his words for his time speak to us in our time. Amos 5:7-14, the Message translation. Woe to you who turn justice to vinegar and stomp righteousness into the mud. Do you realize where you are? You're in a cosmos star-flung with constellations by God. A world God wakes up each morning and puts to bed each night. God dips water from the ocean and gives the land a drink. God reveals. God does all of this, and God can destroy it as easily as he makes it. God can turn this vast wonder into total waste. People hate this kind of talk. Raw truth is never popular, but here it is, bluntly spoken, because you run rawshod over the poor and take the bread right out of their mouths. You're never going to move into the luxury home that you have built. You're never going to drink wine from the expensive vineyards that you planted. I know precisely the extent of your violations, the enormity of your sins, appalling. You bully right living people, taking bribes right and left and kicking the poor when they are down. Justice is a lost cause. Evil is epidemic. Decent people throw up their hands and protest and rebuke are useless, a waste of breath. Seek good and not evil and live.
Kuan Yin, are you there? She sent me this passage. She has two great Rumi quotes. One, you have to keep breaking your heart until it opens. Two, every mortal will taste death, but only some will taste life. And she sent from a woman mystic, whose name I apologize, I will say wrong. She says, and from Rabia of Adawiya, 717 to 802 AD, a woman mystic, poet. Where are you going? And she said, to the world. Where do you come from? And she answered, from the world. So what are you doing in this world? And she said, I am sorrowing. In what way? They asked of her. And Rabia replied, I am eating the bread of this world and doing the work of the world. With two loves I have loved thee. With two loves I have loved thee. Love that is selfish and love that is glorious. Love being selfish and love being glorious. In what way? They asked of her. And Rabia replied, of the selfish love I exclude all but you, and of the other you enfold me in glory. Now we hear from two readers. Scotty and Kristine will read to us a litany of some of the griefs we have. Before that, let me put out some of those that are on the little cards here from the sanctuary. Sorrow of the 1,000 COVID deaths daily in the US. Sorrows, serious racism and white supremacy. Our broken judicial system, our society's increasing sense of entitlement. Another school shooting. The continued rise of the alt-right and religious right in our region. Frustration, fear, and anger with the political and their inability to put their personal views aside come together to run the country as adults and professionals and put the pettiness aside and the lies and the false accusations. And among the hopes that we remain and persevere in our values and the hope as we have each other. In the chat, are there hopes to be read there? Let me look. Sorrow for the division among us. Sorrow that we have to grieve again over another shooting with more deaths and injuries today. Another fractured teenage boy doing the shooting. My hope is that we will be able to see situations like what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse in the future and all see clearly the wrong and the harm that was done without so quickly taking sides to try to prove our own point. I've experienced some sorrow alongside people of color in our country. I hate that with each one of these incidents, people of color feel the grief and tragedy in a deeper way due to how it impacts them more personally. I hope we all can come alongside people of color with true empathy and grieve alongside them and aim to see things from their perspective. Hope that we find peace and understanding. And Scotty.
Last week, Kyle Rittenhouse was found not guilty of the killing of 2 men and injuring another. He will be allowed to own and carry guns.
Last Sunday, 6 people were killed and more than 40 were injured after a driver in an SUV ran through a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Dale Brooks was officially charged Tuesday, and already there are loud whispers about people making this a political opportunity because he fits the fears of white conservatives and the alt-right, as he has a criminal record and is a Black man.
This past Wednesday, Ahmaud Arbery's killers, Gregory McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Rhodey Bryan Jr. were convicted. While the ruling gave some hope that our justice system might work, we also know that if the video of the attack had not been leaked, there would have been no arrest or trial. We know this because Ahmaud Arbery was killed on February 23rd, and the killers were not arrested until May 2020.
Also on Wednesday, the civil case involving the white nationalists who organized a 2-day rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017 came to a ruling that engaged in a conspiracy to intimidate, harass, or harm ahead of the deadly weekend 4 years ago, and awarded plaintiffs $26 million in the compensatory and punitive damages. It took 4 years.
And of further lament, here locally, the Spokesman Review reported that one of our new CVSD board members said, on transgender issues, I feel sorry for those people who are confused that way. I'm not putting judgment on them at all. I'm just saying, don't tell my child what they should be when God made them a girl or God made them a boy.
And Kristine, if you would take the next part.
And globally on Friday, Maria Van Kerkhove, the World Health Organization's technical lead for COVID-19, said concerning the new Omicron variant, what's really important as an individual is to lower your exposure. These proven public health measures have never been more important. Distancing, wearing of a mask, making sure that it's over your nose and mouth with clean hands, making sure you avoid crowded spaces, be in room where there's good ventilation, And when it's your turn, get vaccinated.
And now I'll read a poem by Seamus Heaney from The Cure at Troy, a version of Sophocles' Philoctetes. Human beings suffer. They torture one another. They get hurt and they get hard. No poem or play or song can fully right a wrong inflicted and endured. History says, don't hope on this side of the grave, but then, once in a lifetime, the longed for tidal wave of justice can rise up and hope and history rhyme. So hope for a great sea change on the far side of revenge. Believe that a farther shore is reachable from here. Believe in miracles and cures and healing wells. Call miracle self-healing, the utter self-revealing double take of feeling. If there's fire on the mountain and lightning and storm, and God speaks, and a God speaks from the sky, that means someone is hearing the outcry and the birth cry of a new life at its term. It means that once in a lifetime, that justice can rise up and hope and history rhyme.
Thank you. Venerable Chonyi. You'll have to unmute, Venerable. There you go.
I'm going to read from two great sages of the Buddhist tradition. The first one is Holiness the Dalai Lama, and the second, his favorite poet, actually, from 8th century India. His Holiness's greatest message, one of his greatest messages, of course, is that the kindness that lives in the heart of every being has the capacity to heal all. And he says, never give up. No matter what is going on, never give up. Develop the heart. Too much energy in your country is spent developing the mind instead of the heart. Be compassionate, not just to your friends, but to everyone. Be compassionate. Work for your peace in your heart and in the world. And I say again, never give up, no matter what is going on around you. Just a drop of something sweet cannot change a taste that is powerfully bitter. We must persist in the face of failure. If you are hopeful and determined, you will always find some measure of success. And this prayer that he recites in part every day is an aspiration that from the hearts of everyone whose aspiration for all people is a sense of health and happiness, well-being, that people can find their hearts and recognize the interdependence of all. It's this prayer of aspiration from Shantideva. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my own goodness. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and other delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May all who are ill or injured quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may these never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space endures, and as long as living beings remain, until then may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world.
Thank you. Jerry, would you ring our bell as we take a moment in silence? 7 times, please. Thank you. At this point, we have an opportunity to hear from those who have organizations, have ways to break through what has been happening. And before we begin that, it feels we have the time. If there's anyone who, in hearing these different pieces, has had something swell up that you want to speak to, this would be a good time to do that. Is there anyone there on Zoom that has been inspired by what you've heard and want to respond in some way?
I was grateful for the reading from His Holiness about cultivating heart and compassion, to feel more joy, and to lift each other up is what came up for me when I heard those things.
Thank you. And Marvin says that goes the same for him as he's here in the sanctuary. Is there something else you wanted to say too, Marv? Can't put it in words. Anybody else that has something? Come on to the microphone. Yeah.
I heard several times, remain faithful.
Keep on keeping on. Yeah. Don't give up. Yeah. Don't give up. Lauren, would you talk to us about Van and how Van is breaking through and how we can be involved with Van to be part of that?
Yes. Okay, sorry. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren Schubring, and I am the regional organizer for FAN, for Faith Action Network here in Eastern Washington. Quickly, for those who aren't familiar, FAN is an interfaith network across Washington state made up of over 160 faith communities and many individual advocates. And we are primarily focused on advocating for our shared values in the state legislature. And as we reflect on the outcomes of these cases and the events that unfolded, we see how racism and white supremacy are so embedded in our society and all of its systems. Due to how prevalent racism is, nearly all of the things that FAN is working to change has a tie to racism, whether those things involve healthcare, police reform, the environment, immigration, economic justice, housing and homelessness, gun reform, or some of the other topics that our network is actively engaged in while seeking to build stronger communities here in Washington State. There's truly a lot of work to be done, and I know that many of you are engaged in making a change in those areas, whether that's alongside FAN or otherwise. And as we look to impact our communities, we specifically always want to find a way to do so in a way that will bring the most benefit to people of color who have been so deeply impacted by the inequitable ways the systems in our country have been established. So if you'd like to get more involved with Faith Action Network, we have a legislative session coming up starting next month. And there's lots of small ways to take actions or larger ways to get involved. And I would really love to connect with you. It's been really powerful for me as I've gotten involved with FAN and have been working with them the past year to come together as an interfaith network and advocate with a loud voice that shows that we have more that brings us together than tears us apart. So I truly thank you all for being here and taking time to process these events. As I've been listening, it's overwhelming to me that we're coming together around so many events and more just keep happening. I heard some of you mention the shooting in Michigan today, and that was right near my hometown. So there's just a lot that always keeps happening, and sometimes we just become numb to it and don't take the space to grieve. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Lauren. And Mary Stamp, would you want to speak to the fig tree?
Yes, I just want to say what a blessing it is to help others connect through the Fig Tree newspaper, to keep aware of the opportunities to make a difference. Thanks to Kristine, our December issue includes stories of Gonzaga's International Conference on Hate Studies, bringing together people from Centers for Higher Education addressing bigotry, bias, freedom, and inclusion. There was so much more that I could include in the issue. But did you know that North Idaho College's Mulstead Library houses a collection on extremism in the area from 1981 to 2006? You need to see it. You need to know what that history is. The Spokane County Human Rights Task Force recognized 4 local human rights champions. There are people who are taking risks, who are serving others. Jennifer Mesa, Angel Tomei-Osem, Katie Urbanik, and Jan Baker. Read their inspiring stories, and there are only little snippets in there. Read who received the 2021 Eva Lastman Take Action Against Hate Awards. Right in our region, we also have human rights task forces, as you're probably well aware, for the Kootenai, Spokane, and Bonner counties. What are your faith communities doing to help you in these times? Just building on what Lauren was saying, we have the Eastern Washington Legislative Conference coming up on Saturday, January 22nd. It's a way for you to be involved, and you can learn about it at thefigtree.org. And you can also, if you don't get the Fig Tree, you can read the issue online at thefigtree.org. Do you ever feel that you're all alone when you read the news of all these horrible events, of the killings that we're mourning today? Connecting with the Fig Tree, you can know that there are many people working on these issues all the time. It's really heartening to me, pulling it together. May that be a source of hope to inspire you to keep raising your voice in concern, outrage, and hope.
Thank you, Mary. Tracy Simmons, are you here with us? Kristine, would you want to say anything about Gonzaga hate studies?
One of the things that, as we think about our multiple ways of understanding the world and good in the world, encountering the harm, I want to just plant a seed with everyone about an upcoming exhibit that will be here in the fall. So in August and September and October of 2022, that's put on by the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum called Americans and the Holocaust. And through that exhibit, it will ask us, all who want to come and see it, what we knew as Americans at that time during the war and what we did, and hopefully provoke us as well to think about what we know now. So connecting with our relationships that we build, the information that we share, the way that we build community, and asking us, when we take into consideration what we know now, what are we doing now? And so if people will just keep in mind that next fall, that exhibit will be here as it tours the rest of the country, it'd be a wonderful invitation for us to again reflect. Thank you for the opportunity to share that.
Oh, at Gonzaga, they were asking where it was going to be. It'll be at Gonzaga, yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So excited because it was to come last year, but couldn't because of COVID. So what a blessing. Really glad to have that announced. Thank you, Kristine. Is there anyone else here in the sanctuary or there on Zoom that has connection with another group that is doing something that you want to be sure people know about? Because these vigils, part of what our vigils are about is knowing we're not alone, making that that awareness real and visible. And it's about having something we can do, like some kind of connection, someone somehow to put our grief into transforming the world to be less full of grief. Have I missed something from someone? Anyone here? Well then, our time. Tracy, is that you?
Yes, I wanted to mention a group that is bringing faith, spirituality to an issue, which so enhances our motivation to do this work. And that's with Spokane 350.org's Interfaith Climate Committee. And as a committee, we are very much aware that as climate events occur and increase or magnify, that the human element is going to be such an important part of this, taking care of each other spiritually, physically, and coming together, because these kind of issues, we can't face them alone. It's going to have to be a society-wide approach. And we're going to need calm and love and compassion in that solution. So please feel free, any of you, to join with us. We are looking for people to help us create that kind of ethic around climate issues. So
thank you, Tracy. Thank you. If there are no other comments, it is time to close our vigil. And Lauren will read to us our closing words. After that, I will discontinue our recording and we can visit for a little while with each other. So Lauren.
Go forth into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to that which is good. Render to no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the afflicted. Honor all people. Be a voice for the voiceless. Our time of vigil has ended. Our time of vigilance continues.